Hey guys, what's up? Okay, so hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, Real Talk Recovery, where we talk about recovery from addiction and I share my life with you. My name is Nicole and I'm a recovering addict. My sobriety date is July 13th of 2015 and I just got back from my mother-in-law's house. We had a little early birthday for my son, which was so much fun. Nate will be 6 on July 4th, you guys. So for you, those of you guys that did not know that, my little boy will be turning 6. So in honor of my little boy turning 6 years old, I thought that I would come on and tell you guys the story of how I got sober. How's that sound? Are y'all cool with that? Hold on, let me see. Sorry about that, guys. Okie dokie. There we go. Is that a little bit better? Okay. Is that cool? How many of you guys are ready? Who wants to hear the story of how I got sober? Oh, I just drew on my boob. All right. Hey, Sarah. Hey, George. What's up, honey? Oh, hold on. Let me shut the notifications off, guys. Hold on just a second, okay? Okay. All right, you guys come on in. Come on in, everybody. Have a seat. Have a seat. How's everybody doing in the recovery? Is anybody struggling with anything? If you are, let me know and I'll help you out. Anybody come on in? I'm sitting in my bedroom, y'all. On the ground, right beside my bed. Yes, I look crazy. I don't have any makeup on today. Please do not judge me. Do not judge me. Okay, so tomorrow is my first appointment with my personal trainer, you guys. We are going to be going, I go tomorrow at 1 to meet with him. His name is JD, and I'm super excited, and I'm super nervous too. So y'all be praying for me. I know it's going to be great. I know he's going to teach me a lot of things about nutrition and about working out, but I'm a little nervous because y'all know I'm a chunky thing. But it's going to be okay because I'm taking the necessary steps to make changes and to get in shape. So I'm glad that everybody's doing good. George, I saw your comment on how many of you guys watched the methadone video? I made a video about my opinion on methadone because so many people have been asking me in the comment sections of my other videos. And I know that there are a lot of new people here on my channel. So welcome to everybody that is new or has just subscribed within the last couple of months. What I try to do every 90 days to 6 months, I try to do an update, kind of like story time, let you guys know a little bit about me and how I got sober. But if for anybody that has not heard my whole entire story, and you want to know the whole story, there is a playlist here on my channel. And it is titled My Addiction, or something like My Addiction, the Good, the Bad, and the something. It's an addiction video, and there's 5 videos on it, and they're all an hour long, and it's a whole series of how my life from beginning to now. Okay? So, yeah, I'm going to take y'all with me. Hopefully, I'll be able to live stream. I'll just set my phone up and y'all can watch us work out. So, hey, Tiffany, what's up, girl? Thanks for the thumbs up, you guys. Yes, drop me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Let me know how y'all are doing today. I made a video about methadone, you guys, because so many people have been asking me about it. And I'll just go ahead and share with you guys about my opinion on methadone. I support people on methadone. I think methadone and Suboxone are life-saving medications. The only reason why methadone didn't work for me is because I didn't get on it legally. I was buying it off the streets, and I was also taking my husband's prescription. So it didn't work for me because I was abusing it, you know? But I think that you know, it helps. These kind of medications help a lot of people. And I'm more, here's the thing. I wish that I had tried maintenance a long time ago. So that way I could have gotten sober a long time ago. But I was so afraid and I was so ashamed to get on maintenance medication because of the stigma surrounding it and because of what other people said and the judgment that other people kind of placed on that medication. And so I didn't even give it a chance. So for the first 10 years of me trying to get sober, I was in and out of treatment. I've been to rehab 5 times and I've been to prison 1 time. I've been in and out of halfway houses and sober living houses. And I wish that I had tried Suboxone a long time ago or methadone, but unfortunately I didn't. And so, yeah, I really wanted to make a video because I think it's important for everybody to know my stance on maintenance medications. I support all maintenance medications, whatever works for you, because I realize that everyone's body is different and what works for me might not work for somebody else. So I'm extremely open-minded, you guys. So, okay. I also have a list of these questions here that I thought we could go through today. And so, yeah, I'm going to tell you guys about how I got sober, okay? In celebration of my son's 6th birthday. So, let me think. Okay, 5 years ago, July 2nd of 2015, Child Protective Services came knocking on my door, okay? And so they said, "This is Child Protective Services. We need you to submit to a drug screen and we need to see your child." And I said, "Oh, hell no." No, actually, they left a note on my door because I think I had ignored them. They had probably come knocking like 3 or 4 times, but I didn't know they were out there because I was high on methamphetamine. Okay, hold on. One time I was with my boyfriend's mom. When he left the room, she goes, "He didn't go on Suboxone, did he? I don't know what to think about it if we were to need to go on some sort of mat." Yeah, don't worry about what she says. She don't know what she's talking about. So they had came by the house probably, I think they said 3 times, and I kept missing them. I didn't even hear them, if you guys want to know the truth. And so I got the note and I read it, and being afraid and not knowing my rights, I drove down to the Child Protective Services office and I submitted to a drug screen. And I failed for methamphetamine, or no, I failed for benzos and opiates, okay? And the way things work here in Arkansas is if you fail for methamphetamine, they take your kid from you right then. So luckily, I didn't fail for meth. I only failed for benzos and opiates. Well, they came to my house that afternoon and they drug tested my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, okay? And they drug tested him and he failed for opiates and benzos also. And they ended up telling us that they weren't going to take our son and that they were going to put an order of protection in, and we would have to go to parenting classes and submit to drug screens and all that kind of stuff. So we were like, okay, we can do that. We were kind of getting, like, okay, this is what we're going to have to do. This is how it's going to have to be. The shit's hitting the fan. We got to change our lives. Well, they came back the next day, you guys, and they were like, they had just totally changed their mind. They said, "Never mind, we have to take your son." Okay, so they came back the next day and they said, "You could either get him ready and bring him to the office, or we can take him right now." And so I'm going to tell y'all something that I'm not proud of at all, okay? So they said they would take him, or I could come in and bring him down there. And so, of course, I didn't want to just give him over to them. I wanted to take him. And so, but I also wanted to get high really, really bad. And so I packed his bags up and I drove to meet my dealer, and I bought a Roxy, and I snorted that Roxy. And then I took my son to the CPS office and I gave I gave my son to him. Oh my God, you guys. I cannot even tell you. I could have snorted 15 Roxys that day, and it wouldn't have helped at all because I was a nervous wreck. I felt so horrible. I had to hand my son over to some fucking strangers, you know? And I remember Nate was just, he wasn't even one yet. And I had him in his car seat. He had all of his clothes packed up. And I remember it was a black lady. She was sitting at the desk, and I gave them the car seat with Nathaniel in there. Neil had to be at work, so he wasn't even with me. I was with my mother and father-in-law, and I remember handing Nathaniel to the lady, and then I looked at my caseworker, and I was just like, can you just take me to detox? And so she took me to detox and dropped me off, and that day in detox, I sat there, and I remember getting there, and I was crying my eyes out. I felt horrible, because here's the thing, you guys. I didn't wake up one day and say, you know what? I'm going to be a drug addict, and I'm going to lose my son. I had always dreamed about being a mom and having a family, and I always remember I wanted to be a lawyer. And I had this really good friend in high school when I was growing up. His name was Nicholas. Kind of like I have a good friend now. His name is Nick too. But my best friend growing up was this guy named Nick. And we were going to be lawyers. And it was going to be the Nick and Nichole law firm. And so I didn't just decide, hey, guess what? I'm going to be a junkie when I grow up. I can't wait to be a junkie. I can't wait to lose my son to Child Protective Services. And so it's not how it was. It wasn't like I was proud of what I was doing. It wasn't like I wanted to get sober, you guys, but I just didn't know how. And I had tried for many, many, many years. And I would get sober and I would relapse. And I would get sober and then I would relapse. And until I had my son, I really didn't have any kind of I didn't have anything that was really inspiring me or kind of pushing me to get sober. It was just me, and I didn't care about myself at all. So anyway, I went to detox, and I was coming off of, like I said, I was coming off of oxys and benzos, and they tapered me with Suboxone. And the way they did it was, when I first got there the first night, they gave me 1 Suboxone. And then the second night, they gave me half a Suboxone. And then the third night, they gave me a half of a half. And then the fourth night, they gave me a quarter. And then they gave me nothing. And then by the 6th night, or 5 nights I was there, I was going to have to leave on a Sunday. And I remember it was Sunday, and I said, I cannot leave here until I have somewhere to go. I need to go to treatment. And I begged them to let me stay one more night, and they let me stay one more night, and I went straight into rehab from the detox center. And so when I got to the rehab, I got to see my son, and I remember they brought him to me, and he had these bumps all over his body. And I was like, why does he have these little bumps all over his body? Well, he had gotten hand, foot, and mouth disease, which is some kind of virus they get when they're around other little kids. And I was so upset, and I was crying. And so we took him to the hospital, and they ended up getting the medicine for him. But I had to stay in treatment for 30 days. And my son was in foster care. And so I didn't even get, I couldn't even, here's the thing. When you're in treatment and you're trying to learn how to stay sober and change your life, all I could think about was how I wanted to be with my son. All I could think about was how my son was in some stranger's house and I wasn't there to protect him. And so I wasn't learning anything in there. I wasn't soaking anything up. But luckily for me, I had been to treatment 5 other times. So I knew everything that they were teaching. I just didn't know how to apply it in my life. Well, while I was in treatment, I was sneaking Xanaxes in because, of course, my husband was out in the free world and he was eating Xanaxes. So I told him to bring me some up there. I said, I justified I needed them because I was having anxiety, I was upset, and I wanted to self medicate. Here I am in the treatment center, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna pile these Xanaxes into my system and block it out, and here's the thing, you guys, like I knew what I was doing was wrong. I knew that I didn't need to be sneaking Xanaxes into the treatment center, but I also had this addiction side that was telling me, check out of life, check out of life. It's time to check out. Just block it out, just block it out, right? And so I ended up getting caught on my second week getting sneaking Xanaxes in the treatment center. And I remember when they caught me because they were like, we're kicking you out. We're kicking you out and you're going to lose your son. They're going to terminate your rights and you're just going to go back to using drugs and nobody's going to care because you're just going to be like this because you don't even care. When you get caught doing something like that and you have kids, I think their whole deal is to like kind of make you hit rock bottom. And so they were telling me about myself. They were telling me I was a bad mom and that I didn't love my son. And I'm very like headstrong, and so I was like, I do love my son and fuck that shit. Well, they ended up for some reason, like they gave me another chance, you guys, and I begged them. I said, listen, I know I screwed up these first 2 weeks, but I promise you my second 2 weeks, I will do everything I can. I will learn everything. And so I went into overdrive those last 2 weeks and I did everything they asked me to do and more. And when I graduated out of treatment, I left with a clear conscience knowing that I put it my all in and that I turned it around, Well, that was just 2 weeks sober. I come out and I got 2 weeks sober and I'm a hot mess express. My son's in foster care. My husband or my boyfriend at the time is got a new job. He's trying to hold it together. He's trying to do the right thing to keep our family together. He's got stress on him. I've got stress on me. We were just, it was hard. While I was in treatment, Neil had went and got put on Suboxone and, I can't remember I don't think he told me right away because they wouldn't let us talk the last 2 weeks I was in treatment because they caught us, sneaking Xanax. So they said, listen, you don't need to have any contact with your boyfriend anymore. You need to focus on your sobriety. And so they were like, you're not going to be able to see him. And so that's just what it is. So when I came out of treatment, he told me he'd gotten put on Suboxone. And at first, I was really upset with him because I didn't understand. I thought that when somebody went and got on Suboxone that it was just them not wanting to be sober. And that's because, again, I want to stress this to you guys. I had only been taught about recovery one way. And the only way I was taught was that you had to go to AA or NA and that you had to do the 12 steps and you had to be abstinent. That was the only recovery there was. I didn't know any other recovery programs. And so when my husband went and got on Suboxone, I was like, why are you doing this? Do you just want to are you just trying to stay getting high? Or are you just trying to manipulate the system? And my husband had been on maintenance medication before. He had done Suboxone before. So he knew that it worked. He knew that it helped him stay sober and that he had a success with it. And I had never even tried it before. I think I had tried it a couple times, like as in between getting high, but I had never taken it like prescribed to me or from a doctor. I had only taken it to abuse it. And so I had no good experience with it. But my husband knew that maintenance medication worked. He had done it many times. He had been on maintenance methadone and Suboxone for a couple of years and had a lot of success, like having good jobs, buying a home. He was doing really, really good. Well, he got on it, and then I was kind of just like, what am I going to do, And so I remember we met up with the doctor, and I talked to my parents, and we talked to his parents, and I decided to try and get on Suboxone. So I got on Suboxone, and I know this isn't his deal, but I'm sure everyone would love to hear from Neil. He sounds like he could help a lot of addicts by sharing his story, especially the guys on here. Joe, if he'll ever come on and share, y'all know it. The day that he says he'll come on here, I'll put him on here. But he's very shy. I don't know if it's so much shy, but he's just a very, very private person. And so I'm lucky that he lets me share his side of the story. You know what I mean? But I knew that he wasn't, like, I knew my husband loved our son so much, and that I knew him good enough to know that he wasn't just trying to get on Suboxone because he wanted to stay getting messed up. I knew that he wanted our family to be together. You know what I mean? I knew that he wanted us to be happy, and I know that we just wanted to get our son back. Because when they came and took him away, I just felt like it was out of nowhere. Like, we had no warnings. We had, like, when I try to explain something to you guys, like, we were living with my mother and father-in-law for a long time, and so our son was very well taken care of. He had his Gigi and his papa, and they always had him. And if we weren't here, they were with him. So we never left him, like, unattended or in a bad place. We always had him with family. You know what I mean? We were very, very, very fortunate to have my mother and father-in-law to take care of Nate for us. And so when the Child Protective Services came, it was because one of my friends did it to hurt us. She was mad at me, and so she called them to spite us. And of course, they came and they drug tested us, and you know, that's why our son got taken away, because we failed drug screens. But like, it wasn't because they came into our house and there was no food or we didn't have a place to live. You know, like, it was because one of my very good friends, you know, turned us in. And am I saying that we didn't deserve to get our son taken? No, because we were doing wrong and we were taking drugs. And you can't be taking drugs when you have kids. Like, I know that, you know, I know that. But I just want y'all to understand that, like, we were doing the best we could, even, you know, because we were in active addiction, and we did the best we could to keep our son safe for the most part and out of bad situations. Now, was there times where we put ourselves in compromising situations and, you know, had our kid in the car with us? Yes, there was. But for the most part, our son never had any bad, scary experiences. He was always safe with his Gigi and Papa. So I knew that he wanted to change, and I knew that we both wanted to change, you know? We wanted to change our lives. We just didn't know how to get sober, and we didn't know how to get sober together. Because, like, when we would try to do it, we would both get sober, and we would white knuckle it, and we would stop getting high, and we would try so hard, and we would make it through like 3 or 4 days of withdrawal, and we would be doing great, and we would be coming on the other side of it, right? We would be coming to the end of our sickness, and we could handle it. We could go through withdrawal and be sick as a dog, but it was the depression and the sense of unimpending doom. And then I would try to, like, for me, like, I would bounce back and, like, just block things out. And Neil would have this, like, he would be so sad, and he would be beating himself up, and he would be just really, he would internalize everything. And I would be like, it's no big deal. We just need to move on with our lives. You know, like, we got to pick up the pieces and keep it moving. And so you got me trying to, like, just kind of keep it moving, and then he's like really, really depressed. And so then we would get into fights, because I feel like, you know, he would be depressed and I would be like, come on, let's get up, let's shake it off. And then we would start fighting with each other, and it was just a whole hot mess. It was really, really hard. And so I went and got put on Suboxone, and I had 2 weeks, like I said, 2 weeks sober, and I got put on Suboxone, and I hadn't looked back since then. I mean, the minute I got on it, I felt so much better. I got on 8 milligrams at the beginning, and I stayed on 8 milligrams for about 30 days. And then I went to see my doctor, and I went up to 12 milligrams. And I stayed on 12 milligrams for 3 years, 3.5 years. And then I started tapering last year. In March of 2019, I started tapering. And now I'm doing great, you know. But I remember I had 6 months sober, and we were getting to have my son stay the night with us. We had just got approved for overnight visits. And I remember bringing him Nate home to sleep with us, you know, having him in the bed with us. Being able to take him to McDonald's and go to the park and play. And I remember he was calling the other mom, his foster mom too. And I remember being so not knowing how to feel about it, but also knowing that I was so grateful that she was taking care of Nate. She treated him like he was her own son. She was a very, very good mom. And it was amazing because they also had a little girl that was like a year and a half or 2 years older than Nate. And so they had each other to play with, you know. And then the mom and the dad ended up getting pregnant while they had Nate. And they ended up having their own little baby. And by the end of all of it, I think they were like fixing to have their baby. But we got really, really fortunate to have a young couple. They were younger than we were, and they had our son. And they lived about 30 minutes away, so we could drive down there to see Nate. And we would meet them at Walmart, and then they would let us take him. Of course, this was all through Child Protective Services, you know. But it was like such a big deal when we got granted to have. We started out with supervised visits. Then we started out with unsupervised visits. Then we went to spend the night visits, and we got to keep him for the weekend. And it was like the weekend of Thanksgiving, I think. And we came home, and it was just such a big deal, you guys. But I only had like 6 months sober, and I remember being so overwhelmed, and all I could do was cry the whole time because I was just so grateful to have my son home, to have him be able to stay the night. You know, it's so hard whenever people have, it's like, I don't know how much Child Protective Services helps, you know, when they take your kid away. It was very stressful. I almost feel like it would have been a better situation if I could have been placed into treatment with my son, because there are programs like that where moms and their kids can go through treatment together and learn things together. But anyways, it ended up working out for the best, and I got my son back. You know, we worked our asses off. I worked so freaking hard to get Nathaniel back as fast as I could. Like, I didn't waste any time. I worked so hard, and I fought tooth and nail against the stinking attorney ad litem, because that woman was the devil. I swear to God, she was sent here by Satan himself. Everything that we did was not good enough, and we were model citizens. Remember that, Neil? Mm-hmm. We were so good, you guys. We never failed the drug test. We had our hair follicles done. I mean, everything. And these people tried so hard to keep our son from us and not let us have him back. And all I could help but think is, what about the people who I know are smoking crack still? And I see them going home with their kids right away. And it was almost like Child Protective Services knew that we were a white family, and I'm just keeping it real, y'all. And they could I don't know if it was a money thing or what, but it was like they targeted us, and it was really, really not cool at all. Because I had saw so many other people that were smoking weed, that were taking their kids to the house and doing this, that, and the third, and me and Neil were jumping through hoops, you know what I mean? And they were just, it was really, really fucked up. But anyway, we got him back. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. I try not to go back and forth and talk about how fucked up Child Protective Services is, because I know that what I was doing was wrong, and that I was abusing drugs and alcohol, and that's why my son got taken away. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't see how Child Protective Services is an agency that really helps a lot of people. I've seen a lot more harm than good done. You know what I mean? But that's neither here nor there. We got Nathaniel back. It only took us, what, Neil, 10 months?
Yeah, a little bit less than that. It was like 6 or 7 months because we had him back by Christmas, and he left on July 3rd, right before his first birthday.
So Nate left on July 3rd, right before his first birthday, and we had him back by Christmas. So we worked our asses off. Y'all should have seen me on the stand in front of the judge. I memorized all 12 steps. I was on it. I was on it. And then remember that when they tried to catch my husband up, because we weren't drinkers in our addiction. Like, we were on hardcore drugs. And Neil went up on the stand and they were trying to ask him if he drank alcohol. Remember that?
Yeah.
And the lady said, "Do you drink alcohol?" And what did you say? No.
Yeah, I told her, and she's like, "So you're telling me you haven't had any beer?" I don't know. It was odd, and I kept saying, "Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. I haven't drank this entire time, and I hadn't."
No.
So,
and then she was like, "But it's legal to drink, isn't it?" And Neil was like, "Well, yeah, it's legal to drink, but that doesn't mean I've drank." And it was like they were trying to get him to admit to drinking when he had never drank. And we were like, "What is going on?" It was crazy, you guys. They were like, it was so weird because it was like they just wanted us to fail so badly. And it wasn't like a feeling where you felt like they wanted to reunite you with your kid. Like, it was like they wanted to take our son. Oh, it was horrible. But we got him back, and we have been kicking ass and taking names ever since. And that will never happen again. So that's it. That's the story. Yeah, I wanted to tell you guys about that. And that's how I got sober, was when my son got taken away. It really, really opened my whole eyes, and it opened up our whole eyes. It made us realize that what's more important is not, drugs and alcohol. It wasn't that drugs and alcohol were more important to us. It's that we were already addicted, and we were stuck in that vicious cycle. And we had tried to get sober so many times. It wasn't because we didn't love our son. It's not because it was because we didn't know how to be sober. We didn't know how to change our lives. And so not only was it me that was struggling, my husband was struggling. We were both struggling. And so when you put two people, two addicts doesn't make a sober person. And it makes it even harder when you're trying to get sober and you're in a relationship with somebody, because it's easy, it's when you're by yourself, it's easier to pick up the pieces, but we're both trying to help each other. And so one of us would get sober and then the other one would fall backwards. And then it was just a back and forth, back and forth. You know what I mean? Okay. All right. So let me answer some of these questions that y'all had the other day. How do you tell your family that you're on Suboxone? Well, I'll tell you how you tell your family. You say, "Family, I'm on Suboxone." No. What I did was I called my mom and dad up and I told them, and I explained it to them exactly how the medication worked, because my mom and dad had never had, they never had a bad idea about it. They don't know about they've never even heard about it. So I sat them down and I explained to them that I was on a medication that helped with opiate addiction and that helped with cravings. And I explained to them how the medication worked and how it reached a ceiling effect. And I also let them see me on the medication. So they had already seen me sober for months with the medication. And so they were just like, you know what? I let my actions speak before I told them about the medication. So I was on the medication for 4 or 5 months, maybe 3 months. And then I told them, I'm on Suboxone. And then they said, "What's that?" And so they had seen that I had changed so much. And they were like, "Wow, I was showing them through my actions." So I didn't just let my words speak. I let my actions show that I had changed and that I was a new person. And that really helped, because I think if I had went in and just said, "Hey, I'm on maintenance medication," right away, they might not have understood. Now, we had a little conference with Neil's mom and dad and then my therapist and counselor. But at the time, my mom and dad were in New York. And so when I got on it, they didn't really know. They just knew that Nathaniel had gotten taken and that I was in treatment and that I got a job and got out of treatment. And so they came back to Arkansas. We went up to New York to see them on our 1 year sober. And that's kind of when I think I told mom or showed her the medication because we were up in New York visiting them. And so I showed her I think I had the strips back then, and told her a little bit about it. But I don't think they really like fully understood. But my sister Michelle did because my sister had dated a guy that had used Suboxone before. And so I think that my mom and dad just really realized that I was a different person. Like I let my sobriety and my actions and the person that I changed and became because of recovery show, And then I was like, hey, this is how I did it. Okay. Okay. How did my relationship change during recovery? Well, it changed a lot. When I was in my active addiction, I love my husband. I love him so much. But when we were in our active addiction, we were both really, really selfish. And we were selfishly seeking that high, that changing away we felt. And so sometimes because that addiction would take over, we would do things that were just for ourselves. Like maybe I would go out and sneak behind his back to find something and not bring him something, or I would leave for 3 days and stay gone with somebody, doing drugs. And so a lot of trust had to be rebuilt when we got sober. Yes, Tiffany, it did. And you can add, I'll explain that to you in just a second. When we got sober, we had to learn how to love each other and trust each other all over again, because we had done so much damage in our active addiction that, well, I think I probably did more damage than my husband did, because I was a wild one, and he was more like kind of shy and not as loony as I was. Like I was the person that would like leave and not come home for 3 days because I was high on meth, and he would be at the house, trying to keep it together. So I had to rebuild. I had to earn my husband's trust back and show him that I was not going to go out and do those things anymore, which of course, the minute I got sober, all that changed. The minute I got sober, I didn't want to leave his side. I didn't want to go out and do any of those things. But a lot of things changed because we got sober. Let me think. It was a big change when we got sober because, the way that we were when we were in our active addiction was we were on meth. And so we was always doing irresponsible shit. And so when we got sober, things changed. We weren't pulling guns on people at the hotels anymore. We weren't riding around all night. A lot of shit changed. And yes, when we got on Suboxone, it really did affect our sex drive. But, I've talked about this in videos. I have a video that I made that is specifically about how Suboxone affected my sex drive and our relationship. And if you guys want to, I'll link that video down below when I upload this video. But it's called Suboxone and Libido, and it's here on my channel. Okay, how do you fill your free time after you've been using all those years? So what do you do now in your free time? Okay, so that's a really big deal, because when I got sober, you guys, yes, Tiffany, I'm serious, girl. Like, we talked about sex for a whole hour and 15 minutes on that video. And I talked all about what me and my husband do now to kind of like help with that situation. So you got to watch it. It's called Suboxone and Libido. Just put it in the search engine. It'll pull up my video. I know it will. But filling the free time after using. So when we got sober, all the things that we did in our active addiction were things that went hand in hand with addiction. Like, staying up all night long, being at dope cooks and dope addicts' houses, getting high here at the house, tweaking out on stuff. And so that was really hard for me because I didn't have any friends. And I was just talking to my mother-in-law about this tonight because tomorrow I'm going to my first CrossFit training, personal training. And I was trying to explain to her, I said, I don't have any friends in real life. And I'm trying to make healthy friendships and healthy relationships. And so joining the gym is a way for me to interact with people who are trying to stay fit and do things to help their lives, people that are like minded, right? And so when I first got sober, the first 2 years I was sober, I had two girlfriends, Christy and Heather. And I would go to meetings with them all the time. And I would go walking with them and go to the park with them. And I would take my little boy in the stroller and we would go. And so I was very fortunate because I had those two girls that kind of like helped me. And they had been sober longer than I had. But now that I've been sober for almost 5 years, it's been difficult because I don't have a lot of friends in real life. I have my son's friends' moms, but that's it. And so now what I'm doing is I'm trying to adopt new habits like doing activities like CrossFit. And so that's why I joined the gym, because now I'm trying to get involved with people that will help me to, change my life for the better. And so the thing that you need to do when you get sober is find people that are doing better than you. Always try to hang out with people that are winning. Okay. So if you want to be in shape and you want to, be fit, start hanging out with people that are in shape and fit. If you want to stay sober and own your own home, start hanging out with people that are sober that own their own homes. If you want to get a really good job and be the CEO of your company, hang out with entrepreneurs, people who are CEOs, because when you hang out with people that are a step ahead of you, that's going to challenge you to keep going ahead. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to hang out with people that are ahead of me so that way I can try to catch up with them. You know what I mean? Okay. So that's what I suggest. So like another thing is like when I first got sober, I was hanging out with people that had multiple years of sobriety because I wanted to get to a place where I would have multiple years of sobriety. So I would hang out with people that were staying sober to encourage me to stay sober, And now I hang out with people who are tapering on their Suboxone, and I hang out with people who are off of Suboxone because they're encouraging me to taper on my Suboxone and go on my Suboxone journey. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that I prayed about though for a long time, you guys. And I didn't just decide overnight, hey, you know what? I'm going to get off Suboxone. Like I really have studied and practiced and done my recovery and worked really hard to get to a point where I feel comfortable getting low. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm to the point where I'm low on my dose and I'm chilling. I feel great on 1 milligram. I don't want to go off right now. I feel good. I'm happy. I'm having results in my health. I'm having results like with eating healthy and like working out. And I'm feeling better just from the changes I've made. So I'm going to chill here and wait. Hold on. How did you repair your relationship with your family? Okay, that's a good one. How did I repair my relationship with my family? Well, like I said before, you guys, it's not going to happen overnight, and that's one thing that you need to realize, that you didn't fuck up your relationship overnight, so it's not going to get better overnight. The number one thing I can tell you that will help you with your family is to show them through your actions. And it's going to take 6 months to a year for them to really believe, hey, she's changing. She's not going back to the way she used to be. Look at her. She's staying sober. Because I had told my family that I was going to get sober like 20 times. And so they would see me get sober and relapse, get sober and relapse. So I had to show them through my actions that I was going to stay sober this time and that I was going to change my life this time. I wasn't going to keep going back and forth. And so the number one thing I can tell you is to be consistent and to stay sober and to make time to spend with your family. Because one thing that we didn't do when we were in active addiction was spend quality time with our family. We'd probably say, Mom, Dad, I'm coming by, I need $20. And then we'd leave. Or I'll tell you a story. I used to go to my sister's house and steal money out of her piggy bank. My baby sister. So whenever I got sober, my sister remembers all these things. I didn't remember, but she remembers everything. She remembers the time I came to her birthday and embarrassed her in front of her friends. She remembers the time I stole $20 out of her piggy bank. She remembers all of it. And so I didn't, and so I had to show her through my actions that I'm a different person now. And after about 2 years of doing my recovery, my sister said, I'm proud of you, and I told her, I'm sorry. I love you. I'm sorry for everything I ever did. And she said, I'm forgiven. But I'm telling you guys, it takes time. You really have to prove to your family members that you're changed, that you're not going to go back to the way you've always been. Because that's one thing that we're so notorious for doing, is getting sober for a little bit and then going back to the way we were. And so this isn't just a temporary fix. This has to be a forever change. Okay. Do I need a sponsor? Somebody asked that the other day. Do I need a sponsor? Here's what I got to say. I think it's really important that you find somebody that you can talk to. I don't care if you call them a sponsor. I don't care if you call them a mentor. I don't care if you call them an accountability partner. I don't care if you call them your best friend. I think it's really, really important that you have someone that you can talk to that has been down the road that you are coming off of, okay? So what I mean by that is, if you're getting sober, do I think you need to go find a friend that is a professional basketball player that's never had an addiction? I mean, they might be able to help you, but they're not going to be able to understand what it's like to have an addiction. And so I think it's really important for you to find somebody that's been where you've been. So that way you can relate to them and you can tell them everything, and you don't have to, you don't have to cover up and act like you're embarrassed to tell the truth. You know what I mean? A lot of people, someone told me it's harder to get off Suboxone than it is heroin. Yeah, that's Karlea. A lot of people will say things like that to you, and I'm just going to tell you right now, do not believe what other people say. If you taper low and slow with a physician, you can get off Suboxone pretty painlessly and have minimal withdrawal, if any. I know many people who have tapered very slowly, and then their doctor has them come off and they give them comfort meds and they're fine. I have people that have blind tapered off of methadone and been fine. So please do not listen to what other people say. These are people who literally probably jumped off of Suboxone at 24 milligrams cold turkey and then expected not to have any withdrawal. These are people who literally give maintenance medication a bad name, okay? And so please, as long as you work with your doctor, you should be fine, I promise, okay? Just trust me. I would never put you in a bad way if I didn't think that it was going to work. So taper low and slow with a doctor. And you know what? You don't even need to be worrying about that, Karlea, because you're just starting out. So you just need to not worry about what other people say, because you got to realize that there's idiots all over the internet, and they're going to say things to discourage you, and they might not even realize that they're affecting your sobriety. You know what I mean? It's so annoying to me when people do that, because it's a lie, you guys. It doesn't have to be hard at all. I hate that people do that. Okay, hold on. Hey, More Smoke, what's up, hon? Okay, so anyways, about the sponsor. So I think it's important that you have somebody that you can talk to that's been down the road, because it's just helps so much whenever you're struggling or you're having a day where you're triggered. You can call that person and be like, man, I feel like I want to get high today. And they're going to go, I totally know what you're talking about. I've been there too. And this is what I do so I don't get high. Do you see what I'm saying? Just like I'm wanting to get in shape, right? So I'm not going and hanging out with Amber Lynn Reed, who's 600 pounds. No, I'm going and hanging out with somebody who is in shape, who is a personal trainer, who's going to teach me and help me navigate that new road that I've never really been down, right? And so we hang out with people who we want what they got. And that's what a sponsor is. It's somebody that has what you want. And so you ask them, hey, I see that you got sobriety. I see that you got your family back. I see that you got your home and you're happy and you got a job, all those things, right? And I want those things too. So can you help me? And that's all you got to do. All you got to do. So yeah, I think it's important that you have somebody like a sponsor or a mentor or an accountability partner. Okay. How do I deal with depression in early recovery? How do I deal with depression in early recovery? Ooh, damn, I cried so much. I still cry so much in my recovery. And I'm telling y'all, I think that under 10 years of sobriety is early recovery. So I'm still in early recovery. So first of all, I had to go see my doctor, you guys. I had to go and meet with a doctor and get, I got evaluated, psychologically evaluated, because I struggle with mental illness. And so I had underlying issues that I was medicating and trying to cover up for many years, depression and anxiety. And so although I don't take like benzos or anything like that for my anxiety, I do take Lexapro and I take Wellbutrin, and that has helped me so much. But the number one thing besides medication that's helped me is talking about how I feel and not keeping it a secret. And that's one thing that I struggled with for so many years, was keeping everything a secret and being ashamed. And so I've just learned that the best thing to do is to talk about it. And so that's why I have this channel. I utilize this channel as a way for me to just share how I'm feeling and what I'm going through. And that has really, really helped me so freaking much. So the best thing I can tell you to do if you're struggling with depression is to see your doctor, okay? And after that, if you're still struggling, or if you're somebody who's like, I don't want to get on any kind of medications, there's all kinds of different holistic routes that you can go, like meditation and therapy and yoga and praying and meditating, exercise. Like, these are all things that are going to help you with your mind also, you know? And so don't think that you just have to go get on medication, because, you know, there's some people that have to be on medications and that helps them so much. But then there's other people that, you know, maybe they can do, you know, like I was saying, the holistic things like prayer and meditation and working out and yoga and all that kind of stuff, and that will help them too. So main thing is to seek out help and find resources and things that work for you, you know? Bye, Freya. Love you, girl. Hey, Brandon. What's up, honey? Do I need to lower my dose of Suboxone if it makes me sleepy? Okay, so Corrales, you just got on. What day did you get on? Last week, I think. So if I was you, this is what I would do. You got on it last Thursday, right? So it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We're on Monday, so it's 5 days. If I was you, I would call that doctor, okay, and talk to her about how you kind of been sleepy, all right? And if she says that you can go down a little bit on your dose, then I would do that. It can't hurt, you know what I mean? But the important thing to do with that medication is to let it level out in your system first. And so you're just on your first week, okay? And so if I was you, I would talk to the doctor. Like, you need to text her or email her and ask her, but it's really important, because the whole thing behind Suboxone is to let it reach a ceiling effect in your system. So hopefully you should be feeling like normal any day now. Any day now you should feel just totally normal. But it's never a bad thing. Like it's always not. It's always okay. Like if you don't feel comfortable at the dose that you're at, and you feel like it would be better for you to go lower, you need to be honest with your doctor and really talk to them about that. And I'm sure that she wouldn't have no problem adjusting it. You know what I'm saying? Always, always, always talk to your doctor. You know, it's okay to ask people like us opinions because a lot of us have had experience with Suboxone, but it's always, always best to talk to your doctor because they are going to understand like the clinical side of things, and they're the ones who have been like working with you one-on-one. And so make sure that you talk to that doctor about it. But I would say that you're almost out of the woods. You should be feeling like a normal human being any day now. Um, how do you decide who to make amends to? How do you decide who to make amends to? Well, let me tell you. When I first got sober, I remember I was like, I got to make amends to all these people, right? And so I started going through my brain thinking about all the people I had ever hurt and harmed and how I needed to call them up that day and say I was sorry, you know? And I remember telling my sponsor all these people that I needed to call and tell them I was sorry. And she's like, no, 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 no. You don't need to tell anybody anything yet because that's the mistakes that we make. We get sober and then we're like trying to make amends to all these people. And then we, most likely a lot of us, go out and relapse. And so it was like, we should have never even said anything in the first place, you know? And so what you do is you go through the steps with your sponsor, you guys. And when you get to your fourth step, right? When you get to your fourth step and you work through that fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh step with your sponsor, then you'll get to your eighth and ninth step and you'll make a list. And that's how you decide who you need to make amends to. Your sponsor will go through your fourth step with you, and you'll make 3 columns. You'll make a column of the people that you are going to make amends to. You're going to make a column of the people that you might make amends to. And then you're going to make a column that you're never going to make amends to. And you know what will end up happening, or at least this is what happened to me. The people that I had wrote on the never, they ended up moving to the might. And the people that I wrote to the might ended up moving to the people that I did. And so I ended up going through all of them. And little by little, my higher power put those people in my pathway so I could do my amends. So there was people on there that I hadn't seen in years, right? Like my ex-boyfriend, Robert. Oh, Lord have mercy. I hadn't talked to that fool in like 10 years. And somehow, some way, I don't know what happened, but I was in Dillard's and he was a manager at Dillard's, and we ran into each other out of nowhere. And I was able to tell him, hey, you know what, man? I want to make amends to you for all the shit I did when we were younger. And he looked at me and he said, it's all good. That was years ago. And, you know, we were kids. But he put those people in my past so that way I could make amends to them. And it was just amazing how it worked out. But work through it with somebody else and let them help you with your steps and everything. And then that's how you decide. If you're somebody who's not working the 12 steps, you know, I think it's important to like talk with somebody else and kind of run the idea of making amends with maybe a mentor or a sponsor or accountability partner. So that way you're not just like running around trying to tell people you're sorry and then they're not taking you seriously. You know what I'm saying? Okay. All right. I think that's all the questions for tonight. I hope you guys had a good night, and I really appreciate everybody for, you know, being here with me and being a part of my recovery. And I just wanted to pop on and chit chat with you guys because I didn't get to go live earlier. But I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm going to go to my CrossFit appointment at 1, and hopefully I'll be live streaming that. So y'all be on the lookout at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I'm glad you found the channel too, Jessica. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here, girl. Hey, Euphoria. What's up? I like that name. I wish I was a doctor. Then I'd be making some money. Hey, Deidra. Love you, girl. I love all you guys. I'm excited, y'all. We're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. We're going to make it through it. The main thing is, you guys, like, if you're struggling with addiction and you need support, we got you. Okay. We got lots of support here. People in the Patreon are doing Zoom meetings. Nikki's been doing Zoom meetings in the morning. Murk has been facilitating medication assisted recovery Zoom meetings. So there's always support out there. All you got to do is hit me up, find me on Facebook. We have the Real Talk Recovery Facebook group. We have the Real Talk Recovery Discord group, and we have the Real Talk Recovery Patreon. So there's all kinds of support out there. You don't have to go through this alone. So yeah, find support, get plugged in, you guys, and get right in the middle, okay? That's Bobby. That's awesome, girl. 90 days? That's amazing. I'm so proud of you. Hells to the yeah. It don't matter how many times it has happened. I'm happy you're alive, and I love you, girl. I'm so damn proud of you. Bobby, we got to get you on the channel to tell your story, girl, because I know you could inspire so many people. You guys, Bobby's a straight gangster. She robbed a bank back in the day. And so we're going to get her on here to tell the story of how she pulled this off and how she's been able to turn her life around. Girl, don't flake out on me. I'm going to message you on Facebook, and you're going to come on this damn channel and share your story. Because I remember when we met back up and I couldn't believe it. I love you, girl. You're going to make it. That's right. You're going to make it. All right, you guys. I love y'all. Good night.